guys, today we're going to be talking about private coaching because I was going to try and sign up for private coaching because a lot of people came up to me recently and said, hey Artie, do you know anyone who does private coaching for volleyball? I really want to improve before the season starts, but I don't know how to, so I would love to get a private coach. And obviously I get a few looks like, hey, do you know anyone? Looking at you? And I always answer, nah, not really. I don't really know too many. And that sort of struck a chord with me. I was like, why don't I know very many private coaches for volleyball? There's heaps for tennis. There's personal trainers everywhere for gym. So why can't I even think of one person that does private training for volleyball? So I did some digging. I found a website, and that was a website that connected coaches to players. I'm not going to say the website because I'm about to sort of talk negatively about private coaching for volleyball. So I won't label them, and I don't want to do anything bad for them. So I'm not going to say that, but it connects the coach to the players, and it does all sports like volleyball, tennis, basketball, and so many others. And the more I researched it, the more I looked into it, the more I realized that I don't actually want to become a private coach. And that's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. If you want to use some of these awesome emojis that I've created down in the comment section, go become a member and you can support me creating these videos. All right, before I start telling you why I don't want to become one, I'm going to tell you why there are reasons for people that want to do one-on-one private coaching. And the first one is because it's one-on-one. You get the full attention of the coach and you have their feedback. You get to talk to them. You get to ask them questions. It's a really personal experience. And that's a pretty good reason to get private tutoring or private training because you got a one-on-one. It's like the difference between having a teacher for your whole class of 25 students or a one-on-one tutor where you can just ask questions and they help you out. The second reason why a lot of people would get private training or tutoring would be because it's usually a tailored program. If they're a really good trainer or tutor, they'll be able to see where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and they'll also be able to create a program which sort of builds on all of it in a really good way. So that's the two main benefits of having a private trainer. But it's not without its negatives. Now, I used to play tennis. I used to get private training for tennis, and it was really helpful for me. You know, it was one-on-one, and we got to play, and I got to ask questions. But the biggest thing was it was really, really expensive. And honestly, I didn't really grow up in a family that had a lot of money. You know, I was really, really privileged to get that opportunity because, yeesh, single income, and it was interesting. So I learned a lot from those experiences, but yes, it's really, really expensive. And that's one of the big reasons why I didn't decide to do this coaching with this website, because I'd have to do my own sort of personal costs. And I usually go by about $70 an hour. That's what I think my value is as a coach. But that player would or family would have to pay $70 for my income, but then they'd also have to hire a court somewhere because, I don't know, it's not a good look to do personal training in the middle of a green field without a net. You know, it's not really conducive to anything. So they'd have to hire a court space for that hour as well. So it's quickly adding up the expenses to these players. And I don't want to do that to people. You know, I don't want to say, hey, here's my rate, but you also need to hire a court for an hour. So that's $50 an hour for a court. That's $70 for me, $120 an hour. You know, they're not paying me $120, but that's how much that my time would cost for them. So I couldn't bring myself to doing that. So that's the number one reason why I was like, it's probably better off if I don't do this. But there's more reasons that don't just include my empath heart. And those reasons are that in team sports, I don't think it's very helpful to have a private trainer. Like in tennis, for example, I used to play tennis. I used to have a private trainer. And we were able to do a lot of different training sessions because they were an able-bodied person and they were able to actively move around the court and push me into situations, like push me to do my forehand in really tough situations. And that was really good because that was sort of like a representation of the game, because there's one-on-one in tennis. We were on a tennis court. We were playing with points. So it's very representative of the game. But when we think of a sport like volleyball, the one I coach, not very representative at all. If it's one person with another person, you have two people. On a volleyball court, and indoor at least, you need 12 people to play. So when we think of it in simple terms, how much can you actually practice when you're doing a one-on-one private session with someone? When we look into the science of motor learning, neuroplasticity, and all this sort of stuff, we get down to the really basic fact of you get better at what you practice. And if you're practicing volleyball with 11 other people with a net with a score, holy moly, you're learning really, really quick. It's really efficient learning. But let's take away 11 people, well, 10 people. Now you've got one-on-one. You can't play rallies or anything like that. You can't play games. You can only do really specific things. They call them, I believe, closed loop skills. Now, open loop skills are things that are random. Like, it's going to change every single time. Your dig is going to be different every single time you pass the ball because the ball's not going to come at you in a similar way. And let's think about a way that you would practice digging with a private trainer. They would throw a ball to you and you would dig it. They'd throw another ball to you, you'd dig it. You'd do it 100 times and you'd feel really good. But reflecting on the research, it's not helping you out too much. You know, our brains are hyper specific of the environment, of the activity, and it's really important that we match everything up and it's as representative as possible. That's efficient learning. So that's another reason why I stepped away from doing private coaching, because if I want to be a research-based coach, I got to follow the research. And I think it would be wrong of me to preach that, but then also accept $70 an hour for subpar, really subpar training sessions, you know? So that's another reason why I stepped away, because there's only so much you can do. So I've got in my notes over here, the most important part is that you need to practice something that represents the game, you know? So the only skill that I see private tutoring in volleyball, at least, having a big effect on is your serve, because it's a closed loop skill. Yeah. Yes, it does affect when you're not receiving or not like serving to someone, but that's a skill that you can do every single time. Does that make sense? Like, you don't need to rely on anybody else to give you that skill. Like for a spike, you need someone to set it to you. For a serve, you don't. So maybe if I were to do like half an hour sessions, and it would just be max half an hour and probably just dial in on serving. Now, that's probably one of two ways that I would do private coaching. The other one would be for absolute beginners, and we'd be teaching literally the absolute starting point of volleyball. Like, this is how you dig, hands together, thumbs together, and this is how you set hamburger hands, you know? But when I think about doing it any other way and expecting them to become great, I don't see it. You know, my research brain is just telling me that it's not an effective way to learn, and that's why I don't do private coaching. Yeah, if you want to do private coaching, I'm not saying don't, but I'm saying consider the things I've shared today, the motor learning, the neuroplasticity. It's all really important stuff. If you want to get a few extra reps with someone who can give you feedback, maybe private coaching is for you. But just keep in mind, you're probably better off going to a group training session because you're going to learn more. You know, you probably get less direct, individual, tailored feedback, but you're going to be in an environment that promotes your learning a lot more. And that's all I wanted to talk about today. You get better when you practice. So go practice, maybe with a group. Go Charlie.